Hello, welcome in our project. This is an endless runner game project. We are going to build it from the scratch. I will be showing you how to code it, but this is not for the beginners because there will be many shortcuts in the coding. I just want to show you how this type of game can be done. We don't have very sophisticated game logics and animations and so on. So let me show you how it's going to look like. So we've got this prepared for the mobile already. So we can jump, we can change these ingredients that need to be get. We can have this star every now and then so that it allows us to collect any ingredients we want. You have to change it so that you need to grab the correct ingredients, because if you take the wrong one, then you will lose the points. And if you go below 0, there will be a game over. And if you fall on the saw, there is a game over again. So this is how it's going to look like. We are jumping, there are sounds, there are some animations, and we are going to build it. Now you can see we've got this star, so we can collect anything we can get. Of course, you still have to be careful about the source, and this is what we are going to create. So let me exit it, and as I told you, there is more than 3 hours of content. You will learn how to make basic animation, how to make this graphics. I showed a little bit about Inkscape. There's not much, but this is not about the Inkscape. So I hope you can learn quite a lot. You will see how to use this simulator. You will see how to prepare your game for the PlayStore and how to upload it there. And in the next episode, we will try to make this game even better and upload the upgrade to the PlayStore. So take care, and I see you in the project. Okay, hello! Today we will start a new project. It will be a running pizza chef project. I'm planning on making the game. It will be a 2D game for Android, and we are going to publish it in the Play Store. So this is not like step-by-step tutorial really, because it would be quite long. I just want to show you how I approach it, how I get through it, and how this kind of game can be done. Objectives for this game are the endless runner game, where a chef keeps running and collecting ingredients for the pizza. He can collect only the ingredient that is shown up in the UI. So there will be like the UI button showing, for example, pepperoni. So now if he will see a pepperoni on the scene, he might collect it. But if there will be some different ingredient on the scene, let's say pepper, we can click on our button, ingredient button, to change it so that we can collect this pepper. But when you see it, you will get it. So ingredient can be changed by clicking on it. And for collecting a good ingredient, chef will get 1 point. But if you collect a wrong one, he will lose 2 points. And if the number of points fall below 0, then there will be a game over. The game over will occur as well if we hit some objects, some dangerous objects on the scenes, like if we fall into the water or into some lava, maybe if we create one, and if we will hit some spinning saws and etc. Maybe we'll create some more dangerous objects later on. I don't know just yet. I didn't make this game just yet. This is from the beginning, so I might do some mistakes on my way and so on, because I want to show you how I'm doing it. I don't want to give you a ready example of the game or tutorial. I just want to show you how this kind of game can be done. I'm planning on 2 main buttons for controls. There will be a jump button and the button for the changing ingredients. There will be more buttons, of course, just to go to the menu and so on, but there will be these 2 main buttons for controls. So only jumping, because he will be running to the right all the time, so we don't have to focus on that one. And that would be it really. So of course there are some steps that I put on for now, and of course there will be more of it. And this, let's say, I don't know, project layout or project objectives, I will give you a link for that so you can see how I created it. Of course, it's not done yet. It will be changing quite a lot during this project. So first thing we need to do, we need to install Unity and Visual Studio along with it. So I hope you have it done. I've got my Unity installed already. I will open Unity Hub just to show you what versions we've got for now. And if I go to installs, you can see that I will be running on 2021.3. Let me see if there is a new, there is a new release. So I will update to that release straight away. So let's get Android build as well, because we are going to need it in order to build for Android. And I will agree to all terms and the conditions, and I will add next. I do agree, and I will click done. Yes. So, okay, now we need to wait till our version of Unity is installed. I want to set my project to be on GitHub. I want to make it a Git repository so that I can have it safely put on the website, so that I can access it anytime, even when my computer breaks, or if I will work on laptop. I want to have possibility to work on my project anywhere. So in that case, I want to create a repository for it and install the Git. Maybe you have a Git installed already on your machine. So I will start a PowerShell. You can do it in CMD as well, command line. And we can type git and now -- version. So if you've got Git installed, there will be some info pop out, but I don't have Git installed. That's why it says that it's not recognized. So you have to install it. You can of course check it in command line as well. So just type cmd, and here you can check it by typing git version. And as you can see, it's not recognized. So you have to install it. So let's go online and type git download maybe. And let's click. Okay, I will try the first one. So let's go to downloads, and I will choose Windows. And here it is. It started downloading. So we have to wait a little bit when it's done. So we can install it. Just click on yes, next, next. Maybe I can use it. Check daily. No, I don't really have to check daily for updates. Go next. This one, I'm not expert in Git, I will be honest with you, so I'm not really sure what should be clicked in here. I will just go with recommended settings. So let's go next. Here I will go next as well, and yes, I will just use whatever it is. Okay, I will go next and next. I will go next, next, next. Okay, we don't need to view release notes, so we can go next. And it looks like it should be installed already. So let's go to start and type cmd again. And let's try to type git and version. And here you can see that we already have git version 2.28.0. Okay. Later on, if you open our project info, you will see that we are creating GitHub account, and we will be downloading a Sourcetree to manage Git and GitHub. So do we need this Git? We might do. We will try to do everything in Sourcetree, but as I told you before, I'm not an expert in Git and I want to learn a bit more about it. That's why I install it in this way. So I want to try a little bit more to work with the console instead of the source tree. Today we are going to create a GitHub account. Actually, I've got one created already, but let's go to GitHub. But if you need to create a new one, you will just sign up, and here you can, create your account, add your username, email, password, and so on. So you can create your account, but I want to sign in. And as you can see, my credentials are on already, so I can click on sign in, and here we have it. I'm in the GitHub. There are my repositories in here. So this is pretty much done. You will see that the next step is to download Sourcetree to manage Git and GitHub. So let's go to Sourcetree. So normally I would have it all installed, but I installed a fresh copy of Windows, so that's why I don't have it on my PC. So let's download it for Windows. Agree, download. It's about 24 megas, so it's not that much. I will click on it so that we can install it. It's good to have a GitHub opened all the time when we are doing this, and you will see soon why. I've got Bitbucket as well, but I don't want to do it like so I just click on skip. Let's leave it as it is. I will click next, and now we are going to download it. Tool installation completed. Let's go next. And as you can see, before we finish, take a moment to configure these settings. So maybe I will just type Phoebesoft and we will see if it's going to work. And my email address, I will put the same and click next. Do you have an SSH key that you would like to load now? If not, you can click no and create one later if you like. So I do not have this SSH key, so I click no for now to show you how to do it, because at the moment we've got our Sourcetree installed, but we are not connected with the GitHub. So we need to do something about it. Go to tools and let me see. Here is options and authentication. So as you can see, we have no account. We can just add account, and here we can use a preferred protocol. We can connect our account through the HTTPS or SSH. And what's the difference? If you want to set your repository public so that other people can download it and see what are you doing, then I would say it's better to use HTTPS. But if you want to keep your repositories private so that nobody can see your SSH, then you can choose SSH. But I'm going to choose HTTPS. Choose not the Bitbucket, but GitHub, because I've got account on the GitHub. When we chose the GitHub and we've got it open on other tab, we can just refresh auth token. And as you can see, authentication successful, because the program checked that we are logged into the GitHub already, and it can be connected. So now we can click OK, and as you can see, we've got our account set. So this is showing phoebesoft@github.com and everything is fine. I can close it. If I go to remote, here we should see all my repos that are on my account, and they are. So everything is working perfectly fine. Now we can close it, we can close that one, and we can close our GitHub as well. But I will keep it open just to show you something. Here, as you can see, we want to create a new remote repository on GitHub account. So we are not going to do it in here. We are going to do it in the Sourcetree. We want to have a new repo. So let's go to create. Let's click on the create and let's choose the path where our project is going to be. So I will add this project on desktop, and here I've got Unity, and I create a new folder and call it Running Pizza Chef, and I will open it and select folder. This is going to be a Git, it's okay. Let's click on create repository on account. We are going to choose our account, which is Phoebesoft. This will be filled out automatically. And if you want to keep it private, you can click on it, but I don't want to keep it private. I want to share it with you. I will click on create. So now our repository is being created. And now if we go to our GitHub account and we refresh it, you can see that a new repo has been added, Phoebesoft running Pizza Chef. And if we click on it, you can see that some stuff has been created. We don't have to worry about it just yet. Here you can see that we've got some Git commands that we can learn and use in our command line. Okay, and we've got our Git repository done. Okay, it's time to create our first project in Unity. So let's open Unity Hub and let's go to projects, and I will click on the new, but with the arrow down to be sure that I'm choosing the latest version. So I'll click on that one. I'm going to choose 2D template as our project will be 2D. Let's choose a location. I will go to desktop, to Unity, and here I want to choose the same folder that I created repo. So let's open it. I will select folder and let's give it a name, our project. So let it be running Pizza Chef. Normally you can't add some spaces to the naming, but in Unity as a project name, you can do it. So it's fine to do it this way. And let's click on create. Okay, project has been created, which is super extra cool. But before we do anything, we actually need to change our platform. Because if you go to build settings, you can see that by default, all the projects are being created for the Mac, PC, Mac and Linux. And we want to create for Android. So let's click on Android and switch platform. Okay, platform has been switched, so we can close it for now. I will save it. So Ctrl S. Let me go to Sourcetree and you will see the changes. So a lot of files has been added. If you have a look, it's plenty of them. So now we can stage them because this is how we add it to our GitHub repo. We stage everything, then we commit it, and then we will push it to the server. Because when we commit it, it will be like created this commit locally, but we not only want to create this commit locally, but we want to push it to the GitHub account as well. So there are like 3 steps: staging everything that we want to add to the repo, then we will commit and add some good name for it, okay? And in the end, we will push it. But as you can see, there is a little tick box in here. So whenever we commit and tick on it, we will do 2 steps at once. But before we do it, let's have a look. There are plenty of files in here and we don't really need all of them. We only need some of them and some we don't. And to decide what do we need and what we don't need, we can add to our repo so-called Git Ignore file. You can find many Git Ignore files online, and even GitHub is creating this. Let me go to GitHub again and I will show you that. And when you are creating a new repo, so let me click on the new, and here is add Git Ignore, okay? So when you are going to do it, you can add a Git Ignore to the project straight away, and you can choose what kind of project you are building. So if you are doing for Unity, you can just slide down and click Unity. So the Git Ignore for Unity will be created. But I have one Git Ignore that I found online long time ago, and this is working for me, so I keep using it. You can download it from my website if you go to Phoebesoft and then /d like download, and here if you type Git Ignore and zip, it is packed, and press enter, you can see that this is downloaded. So I will open it in the folder, I will unpack it, so extract here, and here we have it. This is our Git Ignore file. So I will copy it and I will go to the directory where our project is. So let me go to desktop and to Unity and running Pizza Chef. And as you can see, there is only a folder in here, but there are some more stuff in that folder. We just don't see them. To see everything what is inside, go to View and Show Hidden Items. And now you can see that we've got this Git folder. Don't touch this Git folder. We should not mess with it. If you don't want to see it, you can just, hit it again and paste this Git Ignore in here. So this Git Ignore has to be in the same hierarchy where this Git folder is. That's why I showed you how to make it visible. Okay. Once we've got this Git Ignore file, we can go back to our source tree and see what happens. Quite a lot of files has gone, and we've got this Git Ignore file included in our files. So now we can go and push all changes to the server. So let's click on Stage All because we want to add all of those files to our repo. Now we can add some good title, descriptive title, like project started. And okay, we can just do it in 3 steps. So we can click on the commit. Maybe I will show you this way, commit. And now we will push it. So just click push. And here you can see where it wants to push it, to the master branch and to our running pizza chef repo. So just click push and here it is. So it has been pushed, and now if we open our GitHub, we should see it. So let's go to repositories, click on running pizza chef, and here you can see 36 seconds ago there was a project started, platform Android switched, and we've got it online. So our project is safe. Good. We've got everything pretty much prepared to start working on our project. So first of all, I would like to get some graphics into our project so that we can work on it. So I will go online because I prepared few graphics already. I still have few to be prepared, but I've got something to start off with. So let's go to Pixabay and I will change the accounts. I will log out from that account and I will log in with Fibisoft. And as you can see, there are a few stuff I uploaded recently so that I can use them and you can use them if you want to. So I will get those 5 elements. So maybe I'll click on it and I will free download the lowest resolution because we don't need to have it that high. So I download it. I will get our chef as well. So let's free download. And because this is set of many little sprites, so I will choose some higher resolution for it. Download that one. If you go to those images, I will open it and I will change the view of it. You can see, is it downloaded? Because it doesn't, okay. I don't know why it doesn't show up. If you have a look, we've got different aspects of them. Some of them are square and some are not. And we want to have them prepared as a squares. As you can see here, it's 640 by 549. And this one is 640 by 640. This one is 640 by 536, which is not correct because when we will prepare some sprite or button image, if we prepare it square, then it will just expand this image and it won't look that good. Open. Normally I would do it in Photoshop, but recently I found a really nice website which is Photopea, which is pretty much like Photoshop and you can do it online and it's really cool. So let me go to file and create a new canvas. So I will do 256 by 256 and click create. That should be fine. And I will just drag the broccoli and I can click enter straight away. And now you can see that we've got some white background and we don't want to have it. So I will just unlock it and I will delete it because we want to have this alpha channel. Okay, so let's export it as PNG. So click PNG and save. and maybe I will change the name of it straight away, so it's broccoli. And now I will do the same thing with others. So I drag the pepper and I will hide the broccoli, and I will file, export PNG, save. Now I will change the name of it. Okay, so they all are pretty much done. I can close this website as I don't need it anymore. And I can get rid of those files that I downloaded. So this is what I need. So I will just select them all and just drag them into Unity. I will cut our chef so that we've got a set of sprites. So let me click on it, and in the inspector window, we'll choose single to multiple, apply it, go to Sprite Editor, and here maybe I will expand it a little bit. I will slice it. I will choose automatic and choose slice. Click apply and close it. I will create a new folder to keep it nice. So folder, sprites. Let me get all of those put into that folder. Maybe we will get camera aspect. By default there is a free aspect, but I want to set it. I'm not going to use any of those settings that are prepared already. I would make something like 1200 by 600, something like that. So I'll click on the plus button, and here we want to keep this fixed ratio. Maybe I will just name it like 120 by 600, and now we will put the same 1200 to 600 and press OK. And this is what I'm going to use from now on. So if we go to the scene, we can see how our, for example, pepper will look like. This will be that big, and I think this is pretty much okay. Maybe if it's too big, then we will make it a little bit smaller later on, but it's looking good. Let me get our chef on the scene, and this is looking good as well, so it can stay as it is. Later on I will add some more to it, but for now it's okay. Okay, it's time to create our main character so that it can move, and we need to add some components to it. Let me create it, and I will choose which one. I can choose some stationary one, maybe this one. I will add it to the scene, and I'll call it player because it's going to be our player. And I want to have this possibility to jump. So I think that in this game, we are going to use a Rigidbody to move our character. Let's do it. We need to add Rigidbody component to it. So let's add component and type Rigidbody 2D. Of course, it has to be a 2D. Maybe I will increase the gravity scale to about 5 for now and the mass to about 2. We will be changing it in the future, but I just change it for now. We will have to see how our player goes, how it jumps, how it drops, and then we will just, change it to fix our needs and to our liking. And what else? We have Rigidbody, so we need some collider. So we'll add collider, and we can choose actually box collider, but I don't want to have a box collider, and later on you will see why. I will choose Circle Collider 2D, so I click on it. Maybe I reset its position. Let's add a script. Click on our player, go down, add component, and maybe first script will be responsible for movement. So we'll call it Move Player. Remember to capitalize your script's name, and click New Script and create an add. Before we go further, I want to have some object inside my player to decide if the player is on some ground, because I want to jump only if the player is on the ground. I don't want to do like double jumps or jump in the air so we can't see it. I just want to make a single jump, and I want to make it only then when the player is on the ground, when it's touching the ground. So I will add some extra object to our player, and it will be deciding whether the player is on the ground. So let me right click and choose create empty, and I call it ground checker. we might want to move it down because it is in here. Maybe I will just select some icon so you can see where is it, and I will just get it, use the move tool and move it down to about here. I can create a prefab out of our player for now, so I just drag and drop it straight to the project window, and ta-da! Here we have it. If we press play, our player should go down, and it is. Cool. Okay, let's get into our move player script. Let's open it. I will be using Microsoft Visual Studio. I have to change the theme of it, so let's go. Oh, okay, it was changed automatically because it was logged into my account and it knows that I'm using this theme, so it changed, so it's fine. So now I'm holding Control and using my mouse scroll to increase the font size so you can see it better. Because we are using Rigidbody to move our player, we want to make a reference to the Rigidbody. So let's type Rigidbody, and as you can see, it doesn't find this class for me. So even though we open it from the Unity, it doesn't work as we want it. So what can we do? We can go to Edit and to Preferences. Now you can go to External Tools, and as you can see, we've got External Script Editor, and we've got Open by File Extension default option. So we have to click on it and choose Visual Studio. We can close it, and if we open it again, if I start typing Rigidbody, now you can see that everything shows up as it should. So Rigidbody, I'll call it RB. This is quite common to call RB variable this way. And now I will type Rigidbody equals to get component Rigidbody 2D. Next, we want to create some function to move, because normally later on we will get our player to move right constantly, but for the testing purpose for now, I want to have this possibility to move it left and right. So let's create this function and let's call it move. So we have this move function, but we are not going to fill it just yet. We need to create another function to check where do we want to move. So I will create a new void and I'll call it check input, because here we are going to check later on if we're moving left, right, if we are jumping and so on. I will create a new vector too, and I'll call it move. Maybe I'll call it move pause. Here in our check input, we want to check if we are moving left or right. So we create a new float x, and I will get input from the get axis, and I will choose row. I don't want any values in between, and I will call horizontal. And once it's done, I want to assign this variable to our vector that we just created. Move pause x equals x. And once it's assigned, we want to change our velocity in the Rigidbody component. So now we can call Rigidbody and velocity, and it will be equal to move pause. And of course, because we are using forces, we need to call this function in the fixed update, and we want to check the input in the update. So here we are calling check input, and now we have to create another void and fixed update, because in fixed update we want to move our player. Okay, so let's save it. When I press left and right, you can see that we can move our player, but this is definitely too slow, isn't it? We need to create another variable to decide about the speed of our player. So let's call float, and it will be speed x, so we know this is horizontal speed, and I will assign a value of, I don't know, 10f for now. We want to multiply this x, so I will get this multiplied by the speed x. So let me go back and press play, and now you can see that this is looking much better. Okie dokie, it's time to add some basic jumping functionality. which I might change later on. In order to jump, we actually need some ground. So let's add create empty and I call it ground, and I want to add some sprite renderer to it. I don't have any graphics prepared for it just yet, so I will just add something that Unity provides, which is really bad to be honest. So this UI sprite might do, I will just reset its position and I need to scale it up like so, and I'll move it down to be somewhere here, and I will expand it on x-axis. I know this is looking really bad, but it doesn't matter. Let's add collider, which is box collider 2D. Remember that when you're just prototyping, you're starting off with the game, you don't need to have everything nice and great looking. You need to make the functionality first, and then you will add some extra fancy bits to it. So we've got our ground, which is cool. Let me press play to see how it drops and how does it look like, which is great. Maybe I will decrease the size of the collider a little bit, and let's add this jumping functionality. So I will create a new function. I'll call it jump, and here we want to jump if we press the jump button. So if input get button down, and which button? The jump button. So if we press the jump button, we want to add some force, and we need to have some vector that represent that force. So let's create it. Let's go here on the top and I will type vector2 and I'll call it jump force. And in the start, we want to create a new vector out of it. We don't want to add any force on the horizontal axis. We only want to add some up force. We want to call our RB and add force. We need to provide the vector2, which is jump force. And we need to use the force mode 2D, which will be impulse for now. Because this is impulse, we can call this in the update function. Okay, I'll save it and I'll go back to Unity. Let me see if this, look, if I go left and right, it's rotating really funny. Maybe I will leave it this way, I don't know just yet. And what's going on? When I press space, it doesn't work. Update method is being called in different time than the fixed update, and because we are using force, we want to call it in the fixed update. So how can we fix it? We can create another variable of type bool, and let's call it canJump. In check input, if we press input get button down, so we'll get it from there, then we want to make it true. If we press the space bar, we want to make it true. So canJump equals to true. And now in the jump, we are going to check if canJump, then we will add force. And when we finish jumping, then canJump will go back to false. The jump, we can call it not in the update, but in the fixed update. So let's put it there, jump. Okay, let's save it and go back to Unity and let's press play. So you can see that it went up quite a lot. So it means that we shouldn't really set it to true at the beginning. Let's put it to false. Go back to Unity, press play, and it will drop. So now when I press space, it will go up quite a lot. So this is definitely too much. Maybe we can increase the gravity scale and maybe we can add some mass to it. So let's go back to the code, and I think this value is too much for now, and I will decrease that one as well, the jump force. I'll press play, and this is really Cool, I must say. Okay, but we don't like this rotation, do we? We might like it, but I don't think I like it. So we can click on our player, go to Rigidbody and to Constraints, and we can freeze the rotation like so. And let's override it and press play. So now if we go left and right, you can see that we don't rotate, and this is cool. Okie dokie, we can jump, but actually we don't want to be jumping all the time. We want to be jumping only when we are on the ground, and it's not only about this ground, but we want to create some other platforms which will be like ground. So first of all, we are going to add some layer and we'll call it ground. So maybe let's go to layer, add layer, and I will call it ground. Now I will click on it and choose the ground. Cool. We need to create a new method that will be checking if we are grounded. So maybe let's add a new variable and call it isGrounded. Let's leave it as it is, as by default it will take the false value. Let's go down and create this method. So void, and let's call it check if grounded. We need to use some physics. So we are calling if, and now we can use plenty of stuff, but we'll use physics 2D. And now we can use something called overlap circle. So first we need to take some point from where we want to draw this circle. And we want to draw this circle from this ground checker. So actually, before we proceed, I will delete it. So I will get rid of it, and before we proceed, I will create a public or serialized field. Maybe it's better to use serialized field. So serialized field, and I will create transform ground checker. If we go back and click on the player, go down, we've got this field, so that we can expand the player and get this ground checker to that position. Override, apply all. Cool, we've got it. So now let's go back to our check if grounded and do it again, if, and now we are going to use physics overlap circle. We need to specify this point, which will be ground checker. Now we need to provide some radius. So for now, maybe just put like 1F, and later on we will adopt it. And now we have to add a layer mask. What number of layer mask we need to check on. And actually that would be best if we just create a separate field for that layer as well. So maybe we can go up in here and use again serialized field, and let's call it layer mask, and let's call it layer ground. Maybe we'll assign it very soon, because when we have some errors we won't be able to do it. So let's put this layer ground in here, but we don't need to get the layer as a whole, we need to get the value of it. So just type the dot and choose the value. Of course, the ground checker, we are checking the position, so we need to add position to it. If we will detect something on that layer, then we want to check is grounded to be equal to true. And this check if grounded, because we are using some physics, we want to call it in, I would call it in the fixed update. So let's go to the fixed update, and before we jump and move, maybe we can put it there. We can jump only then if we can jump and if we are grounded. So let's add conditional operator and put is grounded. So only then we can jump. So that should be working, except one thing, that when we are checking if we overlapping something, then we change our variable to be true. But of course we need to add else statement. So if we don't overlap anything anymore, we need to set this is grounded to be false, of course. So let's go back to Unity, and of course we need to click on our player and choose our layer ground, which will be ground. So let's override it, apply all, and let's press play. So now if we drop, it should be true. So now we can jump, but now when we are in the air, we shouldn't be able to do like double, triple jumps. And now you can see that we really can do it, sort of, because, okay, we can't really see it, but here is the ground checker, and the distance, we set the radius to be 1. So actually, this circle will be drawn like so. So it has quite a big overlap. So actually we need to either decrease it or put this ground check higher. So let's try first to put it higher a little bit. So I will put it somewhere there, override it and apply to see if it helped. Now we can jump, and as you can see, we will jump when we are pretty much close to the ground. So it means we can put this ground checker even higher, like that. Override, apply all, and press play again. We can jump, but we can't really jump in the air, which is cool. Of course, it needs some adjustments, but for now it is okay. Okay, we can move, we can jump, everything is fine. Okay, it's time to add some buttons to our project so that we can see what needs to be clicked and what we are going to collect. So let's open our project and let's add a UI. So right click UI and let's choose the button. Maybe I will change my canvas from screen space overlay to the camera, and I will add the camera to it. Plane distance is fine. I will change UI scale mode to scale with screen size, and I will choose the same settings that I chose in here. So I will type 1200 by 600, which is fine. I will save it and let me get my button because I need to have it on the right side. I will put it up, I think, and I want to have it square. So maybe I will put, okay, let it be 160 by 160. That should be fine. So let me add broccoli to it for now. And I don't need to have this text, so I will delete it. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more fancy later on, but for now we want to change this image to be random. So how can we do it? We can create a new script so that it will manage the UI. So maybe let's do it. I will add it to the canvas and I will add component and I'll call it UI manager. Why not? Create an ad, and once it's done, I will open it, and here we need to use Unity engine and UI because we are going to deal with UIs. Here I want to add this button to the scene. Not to the scene really, I want to make a reference to this button in that script. So let's type serialize field and button, call it btn ingredient. Okay, so once we have it, let's click on the canvas so that we have it here. I will change the name of the button so its name is the same, so btn ingredient. Click on the canvas again and drag and drop it. So let's go back to the script. So now I will create a new method that will be assigning this sprite to this button. But I'm thinking how to do it because later on we will be creating objects with these images. And I would like to create only one array. I don't want to make like here an array and there an array. So I think that I'm going to create some game manager straight away. So I will create empty and I call it G manager, and I will add a new script to it and I call it game manager. Why not? I will open it, and in this game manager we are going to create the array of those images. So let's type serialize field And now we need to create an array of the sprites. So you type sprite, create array, and call it ingredients. Actually, we need to get those ingredients from other spots. So instead of serialized field, I can make it public straight away. Okay, so once we have it, we didn't assign images just yet, but it doesn't matter. So let's create a new function, void, and let's call it assign random image to the btn ingredient. Quite a long name, but it's quite descriptive, which is good. We need to create a random number. So let's type integer and let's call it rand. And we need to use random range, and the minimum value will be 0 and the maximum value will be the length of the array from the game manager. So we need to make a reference to the game manager. So let's type game manager and I'll call it game manager like so, and in the start we want to assign it, so game manager equals to, and we can find it on the scene, or we can actually make a serialized field for it as well. And I think we might do it. Why not? So let's do a serialized field, game manager. And now we are calling the game manager and we need to get these ingredients. So let's take ingredients and we need a length of them. Cool. Save it. We want to assign image to this btn ingredient. So let's type btn ingredient, but we don't want to get the button component, but we want to get there, click on the btn, and we want to get into the image component and source image. Get component, and we will type image sprite, and we need to assign a new sprite to it. So we need to type game manager ingredients, and we need to provide the rand. We could just get those stuff and put it in there and that would work, but it would be too long and I don't like it. I prefer to have short lines of code so that fits into the screen like this one. So that should be working. So when do we want to assign it? Maybe we can assign it just for now in the start method, and we will need to call it from somewhere else probably. So I make it public. Let's go to Unity because we need to assign those sprites to our array. So let's click on the game manager, and as you can see we've got these ingredients. So keep adding. Maybe let's start from the broccoli and go one by one in the alphabetic order. Press play. It might stay as broccoli. As you can see we've got some error. Let me see why. So we open the console and assign random integer blah 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 blah. So we are referring the game manager, but the system doesn't see the game manager. So we need to click on our canvas and UI manager, and as you can see the game manager is none, so we can assign it. We have to assign it, so just drag and drop it and press play, and now we've got the peppers. If we press play again, we might see something different, like pepperoni. Cool. You know, sometimes it's easier to create this field as serialized field or public fields, so you can just easily drag and drop it. But sometimes I don't like to do it because I might forget about it and then you will get some error in the console. Sometimes it's easier just to find this game object in the scene or create this reference so you don't have to worry about it later on. But okay, we've done it in this way and it might stay. It's a proper way of doing it. It just, you know, as everything else, has some pros and cons, and you have to decide which way you want to go. And at the end, we want to add this functionality to this button. So whenever we click on it, the image and the ID of this object will change. So we can, change it to collect some different ingredients. So let's click on it and go down, and on click event we'll add plus. We need to drag and drop the canvas and choose UI manager, and here we are choosing assign random image to the btn ingredient. So now when we click on it, it should be changing. So you can see it is changing. This is up to us if we want to keep it random or we want to set it in order. Maybe we want to have it so that it will go one by one. So for example, if we've got a tomato now, if we click on it, it will go to the next object, which will be broccoli. And if we are on the broccoli, then it will go to the mushroom, so that the player knows that always after the tomato, there will be a broccoli straight after it, but we'll do it later. Okay, I've done quite a lot already, but I haven't committed any changes just yet. So let's open the source tree, and we need to commit and push our changes to the GitHub, so that to be sure that the project is safe all the time. So as you can see, there are quite a few files that we added and created. So let's stage them all. Now let's add some good name for it. I actually have done quite a lot, so it's hard to add any name because we made so many things in our game that it's hard to decide what was the key functionality that we added. We should have added commits more often. So let's add movement ingredient button, and let's commit. I just ticked on the push changes immediately. So when I clicked on commit, every changes is being sent to the GitHub straight away. Okay, we've got our button, but now I would like to create an object actually. This will be our ingredient object that we are going to collect. Maybe it will be easier if I just drag and drop one of the ingredient to the scene, and I'll call it ingredient. Maybe we can scale it down a little bit, like 0.8. We need to collide with it, so we need to add some collider. So let's type collider. It might be a box collider, it might be a circle collider. I think I will use circle collider. We need to make it as a trigger because we don't really want to hit it, we just want to register this contact. So that's why we are using trigger. So we need to add some script for it, ingredient, and I think I'm going to create a prefab out of it already. So let me drag and drop it in here. And I think that this game manager, it might be a prefab as well. So I will drag and drop it as well. So we need to open this script integer field, ingredient ID. In the start method, we want to assign some ingredient ID to it, and we will want to assign some sprite to it as well. So maybe we create a separate function, and actually this will look pretty much similar to this function, so we can copy it and paste it in here. Actually, it knows that we need to assign it to the ingredient because this is in the ingredient script, so it might stay as it is. We need to have some reference to the game manager. We are going to find it because these ingredients, they will be added to the scene in the runtime. Game manager object, call it game manager, and in the start we are going to find it. So game manager find object of type, and let's put game manager. Then we will get a random value, and we need to change the sprite of it, but we are not getting the button anymore. We just want to get this component of this object. So let's delete it. Type sprite renderer, call this function in the start. This will be quite local function, so it doesn't need to be a public. Let's get rid of the comment, assign the ingredient ID equals to rand, and we need to have some way of checking what the ID is, because this is private. So we are going to create a property that will return the value of this ingredient ID. So let's go here, let's make it public, and it will be of type integer, and I'll call it ingredient ID. We will return the ingredient ID. Let me add one more ingredient, or maybe two more, just to see if that should work. So let's press play, and we should see them different, and they are different, which is cool. So let me press play again just to check it, and yes, this is correct. We need to have some way of checking if we touch these ingredients or not. So in order to do it, I would like to create a new script. I think that the more scripts we are creating, the better. So let me click on the player, and I think I will add it to the player. So add component, because this is our player that, you know, we need to check those collisions all the time. And I think I will call this script maybe collisions. I don't want to give the name that is already reserved. So, you know, maybe interactions, maybe that should be a good name for it. Open this interactions script. And here, maybe I will get rid of the comments straight away, and I will check on trigger enter. Okay, on trigger enter 2D, and here we are going to check first if we collided with ingredient. So let's check if it's got component ingredient on it. So in that case, we will know if we got in contact with the ingredients. So if we did, let's destroy it. Call destroy function, and we will destroy the collision. Press play. So now if I go up, jump, you see that it doesn't work. So let me try and type unity on trigger enter 2D table. Okay, here we probably have it. We need to have a trigger messages. Here we've got in our player, we've got a rigid body collider, don't we? If I click on the player, we've got rigid body dynamic, and this is a normal collider. So I believe this is the one, rigid body collider. And in order to call the trigger, the other one needs to have a static trigger collider, rigid body trigger collider, and kinematic rigid body trigger collider. I will add a rigid body 2D, and if we change it to kinematic, that should be working. So let me override it, type collision game object, and yes, okay, so this is working fine. On trigger enter, we want to check if this object ID or this image is the same as the image shown in here in the button. Okay, so we need to compare those two, and if they will be the same, then we'll get the point. If they're not the same, the point will be deducted. About the points, we'll do it later. For now, we'll just print some message that yes, it's fine, no, it's not. So let's create a new function, check ingredient collected. Something like that would do. So now what we need to get, what kind of values we need to get? We need to get this rand, which is ingredient ID from there, and we need to get this rand value from here. So actually we need to create something similar. So let's call it integer. Maybe I'll call it ingredient to be picked ID, something like that. We can assign this rand value to it, and we'll create this property, this public property of type integer, and I'll call it ingredient to be picked ID. And here again we will get this ingredient to be picked. And of course we need to type return. So in the interactions we need to make a reference to UI manager. So let's type UI manager, and now let's call it UI manager, and here we are going to find it. So find object of type, and I'll call it UI manager. So here we have it, and once we have it we are going to check UI. Maybe I will do something like that. If UI manager, and we'll get ingredient to be picked ID, and if this is equal to the object that we triggered, so it will be held in this collision. So how to get it? Let's create integer and call it ingredient ID. And here, before we destroy it, we can type ingredient ID equals to collision. We need to get this component again, ingredient, get ingredient ID. So now we can compare it if it's the same as ingredient ID. And if it is, I will print it OK. If it's not, I'll print no OK. And when do we need to check it? When we collide, actually. So let's do it in here. Open my console, go to the right, and there is a pepper and here's a tomato. So it's not OK. It's not OK and no OK. Maybe I will press play again. And we have tomato. Now it's OK, OK, and now it should be no OK. OK, so this is working fine. Okay, it's time to mess a little bit in our UI manager, because I want to make this functionality so that whenever we press on this button, the next icon or the next ingredient will be shown up. So it's not random. Sometimes we'll want to have it random, but sometimes when you click on it, we want to get next ingredient. So let's create a new function for it, public void assign next ingredient. We need to know what is the actual ingredient, and the actual ingredient will be held in this variable, because when on the start we will call this function, so to that variable will be assigned some value. So we'll have some value in here. We would need to increase this value, but we need to increase it only then when its value will be less than the length of the ingredients array length. We can't switch to the next ingredient if it's not in the array. That would result in error. So we need to check for it. So if ingredient to be picked is less than game manager ingredients and length, actually we need to add -1 to it. So if it's less than that, then we want to increase it. So ingredient to be picked ++, and once we increase it, we want to assign the image to it. We need to add this ingredient to be picked, but we need to add the else statement. So when we will get the last ingredient in our array, then we want to reset it to assign a value of 0 to this value. So let's copy it and assign 0 to it. And of course we want to do the same thing. Because we are repeating ourselves, we actually can get rid of that line of code, and we can move this line of code outside the if statement. So when do we want to assign this next ingredient? When we click on the button. So let's go to the game. Let's click on the button, which is in the canvas. Here we need to change it from assign random image to assign next ingredient. So let's save it and press play, and we'll see if it's going to work. We've got the pepperoni, and we click it's tomato, broccoli, mushroom, pepper, pepperoni, and tomato, and we go in order. So everything is as it should be, and the player will know straight away that, for example, he needs to collect the mushroom and the broccoli, so he needs to click on the broccoli. Now he can jump, and there would be next. Actually, something went wrong because it was changed automatically. Look what is going on. When we jump, it is switching, and this is happening because when we click on it, it stays active. So whenever we press spacebar, it's working as if we were clicking on it. Click on this button and go down, and here it is, the navigation. It's automatic, so just change it from automatic to none, and now it should be working fine. So we will just jump, and we need to change it for the pepper, and everything is okay. We need to add this functionality so that the icon or the next ingredient that we need to click on should change automatically. So let me press play to see if it's working, and it's tomato. So now when I grab tomato, it should switch to some other random object. Okay, so let's go to where can we do it. Actually, in interaction, we've got this trigger. So once we check it and destroy the game object, then we want to call the method from the UI manager, and we want to assign random image to the btn ingredient. Cool. So let's go here. Do we have? Yes, we have a reference. So just type UI manager, and now we can assign random image to the btn integer. Not integer, but ingredient. So that should do. So now I will add a few more just to be sure that everything is as intended. So let me duplicate it, move to the left, duplicate it, and duplicate it, and press play. And we've got lots of peppers. We've got one pepper, we've got second pepper, and now we need to get another pepper, and now the pepperoni, and now the tomato. Okay, this is working just fine. So let's save it and let's add it to the GitHub. Stage everything, add some good name for this commit. Okay, that should be fine. Let me push it straight away to GitHub and press commit. It's time to add some points and display them in our UI. So I will create some text, UI text, and I'll call it txt points. And I think we are going to create a new script for points. So create C# script, call it points, add it to the game manager. Why not? So let's go here and type points, and we need to override it. So apply all, and let's open points. It would be good to add some argument. Create a function with parameter, void, and let's call it add points. And here it will be int and points, so that we will decide how many points we want to add. And before we can add it, we actually need to create this field. So int points, by default, it will be equal to 0 when we start off. We want to increase this points, so we need to type this points, and we need to increase it by points. We are going to create public void and take points, add parameters, and here we are calling this points and take away points. We need to display how many points we've got. So maybe we are going to create this serialize field, and it will be of type text, but as you can see, we need to add Unity Engine UI, and let's call it takes the points. We can create another method of type void, and let's call it display points. And in here we need to get into the takes the points and the text field, and we have to assign points to it, and we need to change it to string, because everything that we are taking from the player and displaying has to be of type string. And we need to display it every time when we add some points and when we take away points. You can call it in here. Let me get rid of the update because we don't need it at the moment. And now let's go back to interactions, and here if we collect the right item, we don't want to print OK anymore. We want to get into the points, so we need to make a reference first. Points, and now points. Here we are going to make this reference, find object of type. Once we've got it, we can type points, and we can call add points. And how many points we want to add? Just one for now. If we don't collect the right item, we want to take the point, so take points, and we want to take 2 points. We've got 0, 0, so we need to get a tomato. So once I get it, there is some null reference. And why is that? Because we created in our game manager that takes the points field, and we didn't drag and drop it, and it should be like that. Apply all and play again. We'll click on it to get pepperoni, and there is 1 point. Now we need to get tomato, and now if we make it wrong, then it is deducted by 2 points, so it's 0. Now there will be 1 and -1. So this is pretty much working, but I want to check if we will have less than 0, then there should be a game over. So in order to do it, we need to create the game over function, and it won't do much just yet. We just want to call it and print that there's a game over. So let's do it in the game manager, public void, and I'll call it game over, print game over, just for now, of course. We can check for it after each point has been added or taken away. So we are going to create a new method, why not? And it will be of type void, and let's call it check. And inside of this function, we are going to check if the number of points is not less than 0. So if points are less than 0, then we want to call the game over, and the game over is in game manager script. So here on the top, we want to make this reference. So let's type game manager and game manager. In the start, we are going to make this a reference. So we are going to find it, find game object of type and game manager, like so. And here we want to call game manager, and here we want to call game over function. We want to check for it every time the points are added. So let's put it there, and let's put it here as well. Press play to see if it's working. Now we've got a 0, so I will try to get some point first. This is 1, and now we should get a game over, and it's -1, there's a game over. We can keep playing, of course, because we didn't add this functionality to stop, but later on we will, of course. So now -1, game over, everything is fine. Cool, this is how it should be. Okay, we are going to be moving left. Now we can go left and right, but later on we will be moving right all the time and jumping, so that our camera needs to follow us, because if we go there, as you can see, we are gone. We have to make a camera follow script. So right click, create C# script, and let's call it camera follow. Assign this script to our main camera. So let's grab it and put it there. The camera should follow our player. It has to look for its position all the time. And we need a way of identifying our player all the time. We can either create some serialized field and drag and drop our player to that field. We can search for the player through the tag. We can add this tag player to it. Or we can find our player based on some script that is attached only to the player. So there are plenty of different ways. Maybe there are even more than I just listed. There is a tag of the player, so we can assign this tag to our player. If this is done by Unity by default, why not to use it? So let's do it this way. So we've got this camera follow script attached to the camera, so let's open it. And here we need to find our player. So game object, and let's call it player. In the start, we want to find it by the tag, so player. And now we are typing game object, find game object with tag. And here we are specifying the tag, which is player. So in the update, we need to check our player position. So maybe we can create a separate vector for it. So let's call vector2 and call it player pose. Why not? This is a really good name for it. And in the update, we are going to use this player pose and assign our player transform and position to it. Save it. I will create late update method. And inside that method, we are going to move the camera. Transform position component of the camera, assign player pose to it. Of course, this is not how it should look like. I just want to show you how it's going to look like, and we'll change it very soon. So let's go back to the Unity, press play and see what's happening. And we can't see our player. And why is that? If we switch to the scene, you can see that everything is fine. The camera has been moved where the player is, but the thing is that normally the camera Z position is -10. If you click on it, you can see that there is -10, and we can't really change it. It should stay on -10. And the other thing is that we don't want to change Y position for the camera. We want it to be where it is. We only want to move it along the horizontal axis. So we need to change it a little bit. So let's go here. We might do something like that. We can create a new float value, and let's call it X. And we will assign our player position to it. So player pose, and it's X. Now we'll duplicate it and let's call it Y. And we don't really want to assign player pose to it. We want to keep it as the camera position itself. So we'll type transform position and Y. And now we want to duplicate it and put Z, and here Z as well. We don't want to change it. We only want to change the X position. So later on, we don't want to assign this player position to the transform position. We want to create a new vector, and we want to add X, Y, and Z to it that we just created. So let's go back to Unity and see how it helped. And it helped quite a lot. But the thing is that our player is constantly in the middle of the screen. It doesn't give us much view or space in front, so we can't, I don't know, prepare ourselves for what is coming. So we need to move our player back, or we need to move the camera to the right. So how to do it? We need to just add few units for the camera to be more to the right. So let's go back to the code, and our camera should be always like, I don't know, maybe 6 units more to the right. Let's put 6 and see how it goes. So let's press play, and now it's looking better, doesn't it? We might move our player to the left a little bit more. So let's put something like 8F, And now, yes, this is looking good. We can change it to the mushroom and ta-da, cool. This is really nice. So maybe we can clean up our project a little bit. So let's create a new folder and call it scripts and put all those scripts inside so that it's not that messy anymore. Everything has closed because our scripts was moved, so we would need to open them again. I will create a new folder and call it prefabs because we are going to have few of them. So we want to get all three and put in the prefabs. And now I will just add it to the GitHub. Okie dokie, we already have this functionality to jump, so whenever we press spacebar we can jump, but because we are aiming for the mobiles we need to add another button in order to jump. We need to duplicate the button, so I will just Ctrl D and I will change the name of it to btn jump and I will slide it down, set them so it's comfortable for the player to press on those buttons. So now I need to change the icon of it and I don't have anything prepared, so I will do it very soon, but I will just change it, for example, for the knob so that we know this is something different. And we need to add this functionality. So whenever we press on it, when we duplicated it, it still is showing assign next ingredient because we duplicated it, but no worries. So what do we want to do when we press on this jump button? We actually want to do this kind of stuff. We want to turn can jump variable to true. So let's create another method. It has to be public. So public void, and maybe let's call it turn jumping on. All we have to do is just copy it and paste it there. And that's it. So let's go back and click on this button. Wait a little bit so everything is compiled. I don't really want to assign a player in here. So maybe what I'm going to do, I will just call this function from other script. That would be good. Let me open UI Manager and I think I will do it. So I will add public void and call it turn jumping on. But from here, I want to get the reference to the player. So let me do this reference at the top, move player, and I call it move player. Maybe I will add script so that it is easy to understand. And in the start, let's do it. Move player script equals to find object of type move player. And that's it. So let's go down now, and in here, move player script, and here we need to call turn jumping on. Okay, that should be working. As you can see, we could do it in two ways. Probably there are more than two ways. I just want to make it easy. So if I click on button jump, we could assign our player in here and choose that function, but I don't really want to do it. I just want to stick with the canvas and UI Manager in here. So I created another function that will call the function from the player. So UI and here turn jumping on. Okay, cool. So let's save it and let's press play. So now we can jump when I press the space bar and when I press this button. Okay, cool. Because later on, you know, when we will build for Android, there will be no space bar to press on. That's why later on we might just get rid of that functionality in the code. So we've got two buttons. So now all we need to do is to prepare some graphic for jumping. Okay, so I changed this button a little bit so that there will be all the ingredients shown up all the time, and the actual ingredient that need to be collected at this moment will be displayed in the middle. So now we need to change the reference a little bit. So let's go to the scripts and let's go to the UI manager, because I believe this is there where we need to change it. Instead of getting button btn ingredient, we actually need to get into the image and we will call it img ingredient. We are going to copy it. We don't really need to get the component anymore because it will be done automatically. And here we can change it as well. Go to UI manager and assign this image ingredient to it. So let me drag and drop it and let me see if that is going to work. So now if we click on it, we've got it, tick, tick, tick. Everything is looking fine. I think I would like to add some main menu now. I will create some other menus as well, but for now I will create only the main menu, so that when there will be a game over, we will be moved to the main menu as well, just for now. I will go to the scenes and create a new scene, call it main menu. I'll go to main menu and now I will change the name of that menu. So maybe I will call it level. Let me open it again to be sure everything is correct, and it is. So let's go back to the main menu. We will need UI, that's for sure. So let's create a canvas, and here let's change it to the camera. Let's add the camera to it. Constant to scale with screen size, and we've got 1200 by 600, which is great. Let's add some button. So right UI and the button. Maybe I'll create two buttons straight away. So there will be play button and exit button. We need some script to manage our menu. We could create a new menu manager script, for example, but we've got this game manager. Let me see, what do we have in here? We've got it set as a prefab, and I think I will just add it in here as well. We need to switch between the scenes, so let's add using statement, the scene management, create a public void switch scene. Maybe we'll call it this way. Probably we need some parameters so that we can decide which scene should be turned on. Let's call scene manager and load scene, and here we provide the scene index that we are going to pass as a argument. We will need another function to quit our game, so let's type public void quit the game. Here we'll use application and quit, something that Unity prepared for us. Click on the play button, and when we click on it, so we need to add this game manager in here, and game manager switch scene. Okay, we are going to switch the scene number 1 because main menu would be on the index 0 and the level would be on 1. So this is something that we would have to set in a minute. Exit button, let's add a new on-click listener, add game manager as well, no function, game manager, and quit the game. Let's go to build settings, and here we have to add our main menu scene as a first one because it has to have index of 0 and level should have index 1. Press play and see if this is working. We've got our menu. As you can see, we've got some null reference because our script is trying to get the points. Of course, we didn't create any safety valves just yet, so we didn't check if something exists and something didn't exist. We'll do it later, so don't worry. But here, as you can see, we've got this display points thing that is not great. So I think that we might separate our points. We can go to the level, and here from the game manager, I would like to get rid of this point script, and I want to create a new empty, and I call it points manager. I will assign points to it. Takes the points, attach it there. Go inside our game manager and I will get rid of the points. So remove it, go back so that we don't have to override it. So let me switch to main menu and okay, the points are gone. Let me press play. Now there is no problem at all. Let me press play and see if our points will still work. 1, now it should be -1, which it is. Now 0 and 1, cool, jump. Everything is fine. When we will go below 0, we are calling this game over we are calling this game over method and we are printing game over, but actually we don't want to print it anymore. We want to switch to the scene with index 0. So let me just type switch scene and add 0 as an argument so that we will be switched to the main menu. Play. If I collect the wrong one, we should be moved to the main menu and we are cool. Of course, the quit button doesn't work with Unity. We have to build our game. So we are not going to test it, but you can be sure this is going to work. I've done it a few times and there was never any problem with it. So with the main menu, we could make it more fancy, but not just yet. I just want to make the functionality first. Okie dokie, we've got our jumping functionality, but we can't just yet jump on anything. So let's create some basic platforms that we will be able to jump on. So I think I will just duplicate the ground, so Ctrl D, because I don't have any graphics prepared for it just yet, and we don't have to have them. So we need to set the platform so that our chef can go beneath it. So this, I think it's quite alright. And let me duplicate it and put it somewhere there. It has to be the same layer as the ground, which is ground, but of course when you duplicate it, it will stay the same. It's just good to remember it whenever you will be creating these objects from scratch, so that we need to change the layer for the ground, because if it's not on the ground, then our ground checker won't be able to check it. So let's press play and let's go there and check if we can jump on it. We can, but it's not great. We can't jump that high. You can see that when we are in the air, we can move a little bit faster, but when we are on the ground, we can't go that fast. And why is that? When we are dealing with forces, there is some resistance on the ground. In order to manipulate it, to adapt it to our needs, we need to create a new physics material. So let's go to assets, right click and create, and here there should be physics material 2D. Let's create one and let's call it ground material. As you can see, there is some friction set to 0.4. Let's put it to 0.1 at the moment, and we need to select all the grounds that we need to assign this material to. And now in the box collider, you can see that we've got this material and it says none. So we have to drag and drop it in there. All of those objects will have this material on. So we can just press play and see if it's better. Of course, it's hard to see it now because we just had the game over. So let me collect it, and I think this is better. Of course, we can set it to 0, not to 0, 1. To make it even better if we want to, but I think this is pretty good. But I think we should be jumping a little bit higher, don't you think? And look, we can do something like that, so we can jump above the platform, which is really nice, isn't it? To make us jump a little bit higher, we would need to add more force to our jump force, or we can manipulate with the gravity scale and the mass. So maybe let's turn the mass down a little bit and we will see if it helps. Leave it as it is for now. We've got some space here because I don't like this that our chef is jumping much higher. We could move our camera as well so that it will be visible all the time, but I don't know if we want to do it really. For now, I will move it down a little bit, and I'll move it down that one as well. And now I can see that they are a little bit too big, don't you think? So let me make them smaller. So 0.6 should be fine. Let's override them all. And I will put that one here, for example, that one in here. This one will be there. Our game is an endless runner, so we need to have this possibility to create in runtime our ground so that it repeats all the time. So whenever we come to some point where our ground is still visible, we need to create another one. You could just generate new and new and new, you know, just to instantiate them. But this is not a good idea because this is endless runner. So if somebody is really good in that game, he might create a new object one after the other one. And in, I don't know, 30 seconds, we would have plenty of new objects created. And we don't want to do it unless we don't really have to. We want to reuse something we already have. So instead of creating new object, which is not a good idea if you don't have other choice, then we should probably create a second, the same object as this one. So I Control D and put it here, for example. And we want to do something like that. So if I just use this one, so whenever we come to the middle of that ground with our chef, we want to add this platform to be next to that one. And when our chef would move in here, so this one is not visible anymore, we want to move that one to be in front of this one, and so on. So we want to just keep swapping them and putting them in front of the other one. Maybe we can create a new script for it. That would be good. Maybe we can call it like level manager or something. I will create empty first and I'll call it level manager. And maybe I will change the name of this ground. I think it would be like a walking ground. And I will paste it to this object and call it 1. I will move it up so they are in the same spot. So now we need to create a new script. Maybe I will reset it, add component, and let's call it level manager. So let's create and add it. Okay, we can open it. And now we need to get these references to those two walking grounds objects. So let me do it. Of course, get rid of the comments. According to the clean code, the comments are in 99% not needed. You should structure your code so that it's descriptive and no comments are needed. Serialize field, and we are going to create this reference. It will be an array because we need two objects. Get it as transform because we will need its position primary. So let's type transform walking grounds. We need to make a reference to our player, so we need to check its position all the time. So let's maybe use transform as well for our player because we need its position. So in the start, we'll make it this reference. So player equals to, and now we need to find our player. So let's type game object, and we are going to find it by the tag. So object by tag, and let's type player. And because we are setting this as a transform, so we need to get transform component. We would need to move this ground or switch the ground. So maybe let's call it switch the ground. So I will create a new method and call it switch grounds or switch walking grounds. We need to know what is the current position of this walking ground and what would be the next position, and we need to know how much we need to shift it. So let's go below and maybe let's create those vectors. So I will create vector 3 and call it current position. So current pos. Then maybe I will duplicate it and call it position. Or maybe, because we are going to add some more stuff to it later on, so maybe I will type walking ground next position. That should be better naming, I would say. That is quite descriptive, and we need this shifter, so to know how much we need to shift the next position. So maybe next, maybe walking ground pos shift. Let me think how much we need to move it to the right. Let me get our player. It's in the middle as this object, as the ground. If we shift this one to be in the right spot, which will be in here, so the position is 40. So we need to shift it by 40 units to the right. So let's go back, and this walking ground next position shift X will assign a value of 40F to it. We need to set this first position for the actual position. So I will just type walking ground current position. So what position we need to set for this current position when we start the game? So let's open the Unity and see what is this position. We would have to change it later on, probably, when we will just adapt this object to our needs, because of course at the moment it looks the way it is, but it's about minus 4.7. Make a new vector, put 0 on the X and minus 4.7F on the Y-axis. Now we need to set this first object of our array to this position. So let's type walking grounds and choose the first item, which is index 0, and position equals to walking ground current position. If we just move it anywhere and press play, it should jump back into that place. But it didn't, and it didn't because index out of range exception. We've got our array, but we didn't add those objects to it. So let's add walking ground 0 and walking ground 1. So let me clear it and press play again. And now it's fine. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the script, player position, and we need to choose this X position. And if it will be more than this current position, so walking current position X, then we want to switch walking grounds. And of course we need to add something to this function. We need to set the next position. So let me type walking ground next position, and it needs to be equal to the current position increased by this shift. Where is it? By this value. So this will be equal to, let's create a new vector. So new vector 3, and as an X we need to change the current position. We are going to take the X value of it and increase it by the walking shift X. Take walking ground current position Y, and as Z we will take walking ground current position Z. Now we have to decide and check which of those walking grounds are the good one. And I think that the easiest way will be just use the if statement. So we can check if this walking grounds with index 0, so this is the first object, and if its position will be equal to this current position, so walking ground's current position. So if that would be the same, then it means this is this first element. So in that case we need to take this second element, so walking grounds 1, and we want to change this position to be equal to next position. But now we need to add else if statement. So here we need to check if this is the second element. So if that's equal to the current position, then we want to change the first item. So let's copy it, change the 1 to 0. That should be it. No, that's not it, because we've got this next position, but once we put a new object to the next position, we need to reset the current position. So now we will type walking ground current position needs to be equal to the next position. Press play. So now if I go to the scenes, look that the second object is still somewhere there. The first one jump on where it should be. So let me go to the right. Let's get what we need, and you can see that the second one is already there. So we are moving, and look, they are being switched all over again. So we've got an endless walking grounds being changed all the time. Perfect. This is what we need. Okay, it's time to create some panels. I want to create panels so that if we move forward to the right all the time, new panels will be generated one after the other one, like with this walking ground. I don't want to instantiate them. I just want to do the same thing that I've done with the walking ground. So here I had two walking grounds which were the same, but now I'm going to create more than that. Of course, I will create the basic ones and I will just make them more fancy later on. Maybe I will move this level manager script to the scripts where it belongs to, and I will open it. So I will use game object array and I'll call it level panels, and I want to make them serialized field. Game object current level panel, create next level panel. And now we will need those vectors. So vector 3, because we would need to shift it to the right as well. I will create it the same length as our walking ground, so it will be double the size of the screen. So in that case, actually we can use this walking ground next position shift, and I will just make it a shift X, and that should be good. Shift X. It would be easier actually to create a vector out of it instead of the float. And here we are specifying X, Y, and Z. And why it is easier? This is easier because in here we don't really have to type everything like that. We can just take current position, which is walking ground current position, walking ground current position plus shift, and that would be much easier. I will do serialize field and I'll call it game object first level panel. Current level panel would be equal to first panel. Position, that would be equal to new vector, or maybe we can use just vector 3 and 0. Void, and I call it switch next panel. Choose the next panel. Level panel position plus the shift. So next level panel, that would be equal to, we need to get one of the panel from the level panels array. So let's type level panels, and here as an index we need to get some random value for it from it. So random range, and we start off from 0, and now we need to check how many items are in the level panels array. So let's type level panels array and length. Set this position for the next level panel. So next level panel transform and position equal to next level panel position. Current level panel pose, the next panel pose. Okay, and in update we are not checking the walking ground position, we're just checking the panel pose. which in this case would be the same because our panel would be the same length as the walking ground. But so I will just add another if statement. Position X will be, so then we want to switch next level panel. Cool. So let's create this panel. I will create empty and I call it level panel, and I will reset its position so it's in the middle. This is how it should be. Maybe I will take those grounds and put them into these level panels, and I will move it around because we've got a space from here to there. So now I will take those ingredients and I'll put them to the level panel as well. So that's our first level, and I will duplicate it and I will give it a name of 2. I will just hide the level 1 for now so I can change level 2 a little bit. Just to see clearly what we are doing, I will just get those grounds and I will change the color of it so it's a little bit different, like so. And actually we have to move them out of the side, so I will move them in here, for example. And now I have to click on level manager and we have to add those panels. So level panels, we can expand it, and let's add level 1, level 2, level 3, and the first panel, let's use this level panel as the first panel. Actually, we didn't have to create this thing. We could actually decide about it in the code, and I think I will do it later because there is no need of doing it. So this seems to be working fine. Oh, now something happens and I don't know what is going on. Get rid of the first level panel, and I will use just current level panel to be equal to, so level panels, and I will take the one with the index 0. I know what's going on because sometimes our panels were disappearing, and this is because, for example, if we are currently on the level panel 0 and we will choose the random with the same panel, so the same panel will be our next panel, and that's why it will move so we don't see it anymore, and this is something we don't really want. We don't want next panel to be the same. Okay, so I think the easiest way would be to create some integer to check this current level. Say that the current level index would be equal to 0. Okay, so we need to get this current level panel index and compare it with this random value. I need to move our UI to the front because, as you could see, it was behind. Just click on canvas and choose this ordering layer. We can add like 6, for example. So now all the items of UI should be in front and we should be good to go. Our game was structured so that whenever we click on this item, it gets disappeared, and now are trying to reuse it. And the thing is that we can't really reuse it when it was destroyed. So either we cannot destroy it and then move it to some other position, or just we can deactivate it. So whenever we move our platform to the new place, it will be activated again. I don't want to instantiate them all over again because it provides some memory problems. It's not that bad, of course, but it makes us creating new objects and destroying them all the time, so that the garbage collector would have to do more stuff and we could see some spikes in our game. I want to go to our scripts and to ingredient. We don't need this void. I will just get rid of it and I will type on enable. So whenever it gets enabled, we will assign a random ID and image to it. And here on trigger enter, we don't want to destroy it. We want to disable it. And game object set active. And this is fine. But now when the new panel is being moved as the next panel, we need some way of activating all of these ingredients that belongs to this panel. Let's go to level manager and think a little bit. So here when we are switching next panel, we want to move it to next position and we want to activate all the ingredients, and we want to but they will be disabled. I know there is one function that will look for disabled items as well. I'm finding objects of all type as ingredients. I try to set them active again and it seems to be working. Of course, all of the ingredients will be put back, but it doesn't really matter because if we move to the right, we won't see anything that is left behind. So this is okay. Okay, it's time to add some animation for our character. And first of all, I thought that I will create just the sprites. I will cut them in Unity and I will make animation like that. But now I think I will try to separate each of these objects and just do animation based on those objects. I will build this player out of many little objects. So in order to do it, we'll just grab this one player. Maybe I'll duplicate it to keep it as it is. And I'll put it on the side. We want to separate everything that we might think that will be separated later on. Let me export it, and okay, I will export it straight to the folder and I'll call it just chef, and I will save it and export. Import new asset. I'll go to desktop, to running pizza chef, to assets, and I'll get the chef. And now I want to cut it, so multiple, apply, Sprite Editor, slice, slice. So I will apply it. Let's create 2D object and sprite, and I call it hat, and I will drag and drop the sprite to it. And maybe let me get rid of this sprite. Maybe I'll just duplicate it. It will be probably easier. Want to get everything in its place. And we want to make a good ordering layer for everything to be sure that everything is where it should be. Maybe we can put our player on some separate layer really. This layer, sorting layer, and I will add sorting layer and I will call it player. And here I'll choose it. So now the hat or the body will be at 2, let's say. The head will be at 3, the hat will be at 4. The leg, the right leg and the left leg, they could be on front of the body. So let's put 3 and slide them down. Maybe I will disable this ground checker because it's too big. Hand right as well, so probably we'll put something like 4. And hand right will go there. So as you can see, we changed the view of our player a little bit, but it's okay. I think I like it more as it is now. And we need to rotate our hand and our other hand as well. So we need to change the pivot point of it, because now if we want to rotate it, look how it's going to rotate. This is not what we want. We can just create a new empty and make this graphic child of it, and probably that would be the best idea really. So for the hat, I don't think we need to change it. For the head, so I'm going to right click, create empty, and I call it head, and I will get the hat and the head inside of it. Actually the hat and the head will go up. So the head is here, so we can move it down a little bit. And now if we are going to rotate it, it's going to rotate along this point, which is cool. We want to get our arms and the body inside other object. So let's create a new empty. Let's call it body with the capital letter. And now we want to get body handle inside of it. So now if we are going to rotate it, it will rotate like that, which is not that great just yet, but we will fix it. So now if I'm going to rotate the hand, it will rotate like that. Good. Okay, I think this is fine. We've got all our objects prepared, so we can click on the player. So maybe we can decrease the radius of it a little bit, and I will shift it up like so. Okay, that should be cool. So let me click on it and overwrite everything. It's time to create some animation for our character. Click on our player and I will go to Windows and Animation and Animation. I will dock it maybe in here. So once the player is clicked on, just create animation, and I'll go to Assets and I will click folder Animations. Open it, and first we want to create an idle animation as always. This is like idle animation. Okay, it's fine. So now let's create some jumping, for example. Let's do jumping. So create new clip and let's call it jump. Let's turn auto recording on. Now this hand, I think it should rotate. So let me rotate it like that. And maybe I will slide the head down, the hat. I will do something like that. Oh, cool. It might be cool. Okay, I will turn off the auto recording and let's open Window, Animation and Animator. And maybe we can move it there and click on the player. So as you can see, when we added animation, we should have this animator on our player as well. Let's press play to see how it looks like now. So this is our idle animation. So now we have to create a switch to jump. So let's click on parameters, open the parameters and trigger, and I call it jump, or maybe we'll start with the idle, and we want to create trigger jump. And we want to create trigger run, because normally we shouldn't really see this idle animation because we will be running all the time. But for now, it's okay. So we've got an idle. We want to start with the idle and we want to make transition to the jump. In order to switch between idle and jump, we need to create the condition, which will be jump. And we want to go back from the jump to the idle. And the condition for it is idle. Do we want to have exit time? Probably we don't. So I put it like that and I will put it like so, and here I put 0, and with this one I will put 0 as well. So the animation is being switched without any delay. So when do we want to play this animation? We need to code it. So in order to code it, we have to go to projects and to the scripts. We can go to the move player really, because it's not going to be that complicated. We have to make a reference to our animator. So let's go here and type animator, and we will give it a name of anim. This is quite common to do it this way. And in the start, we will type anim get components animator. And now probably I would like to create a new function, void switch animation, and we are going to pass a parameter of the trigger, probably with $G. And now we want to get into the anim and we want to set trigger, and we are going to provide this trigger that we are going to set. I've added this if statement in the update, and I'm checking if the chef is in the air, so either it is going up or down. So if its velocity will be less than 0.1, then we want to switch animation to idle. But else, if the velocity y is higher than that, then we want to switch to the jump. And one more thing I changed was I've added this else statement in the jumping, and it's okay. So let's go to animation, click on the player, and let's click idle, create new, and I'll call it run. Go to assets, animation, and save it. And now I will try to do something. Right leg, let's rotate it, and let's rotate the left leg. I will make something like that. How does it look like? Brr. This is cool, look. Brr. Okay, I like it. Just copy it and paste it there to have this repeated movement. And let me get all of them. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, so we can keep doing this. And in meantime, maybe I will copy the whole thing, paste it there, and in between we want to add some more animation. So maybe I will get, and I want to get the head maybe, so that we can rotate it a little bit. I will put it on 0. So now we need to do something with our hands, rotate it a little bit so that we've got keyframe, and then I will go to that and I will rotate it. Maybe I will rotate it up like so, and then I'll go there and rotate it back to its position. So now it will look like that. Okay, so be it. And let's do the right hand. So again, I want to rotate it a little bit, put it on 0 again, so there is no rotation at all. And in the middle, I will rotate it down maybe. Okay, and then go to the end and reset it. This is how it's going to run. Okay, why not? I like it. Let's go to animator. And actually, I don't think we need this idle animation really. So I will create this run animation as a default state. And now I will get rid of those. And I will make run, make transition to jump. And the condition will be jump. And the transition back will be run. And we don't want this exit time. Here I will put it on 0 as before, and with this one I will do the same. We just need to change our arguments. So let's go back to the code, and here we need to change idle to run because we don't want to use this idle animation. So let's minimize it and let's press play, and this is running. It's really cool. Jump, run, cool. We are jumping and we are running and jumping and there is a game over, but this is really cool. So we've got our basic animation done. It's time to create some animation for our ingredients. So this is the ingredient 4, and we need to change it a little bit. So let me open it, and I want to add some extra image to it. So I will right click, maybe right click on the ingredient, and I will add to the object, and I will choose the sprite. I will go back, let me go to the sprites, and I click on anything just to see if this is working. Then you can see it is there, but we want to have it behind. So I'll put order in layer on -1, and of course we don't want to have tomato. So I will go online, and I was searching on Pixabay, And I thought that maybe we might use this kind of rays. So I will get it, free download vector graphics. So let me open the Inkscape and I will open this file that I just downloaded. The sun, let me expand it, and I need to ungroup it, and I will get rid of that one, and I think that should be fine. So let me select that all. 115, it might be not enough, maybe I will put 200. And now export, and I will go to desktop and I call it sun, and I will save it and export. So now we can import it to the Unity. Let me go to the right and just drag and drop it. And now I want to add this there. So now I can override it, and I want to create some animation for it. So let's open animation tab. Still the ingredient is clicked on, so just create animation. Go to assets, animation, and I'll call it ingredient idle, something like that, and save it. Our new sprite in the idle should be not visible. So I will click on it and I will disable it and scale it up a little bit. And now I will go somewhere there and I will change the scale to about 0.8 and 0.8. Control C, and I will go to about here and Control V. So now you can see it will be something like that. Now we are going to create new clip, and it will be ingredients collect, and save it. So now I will turn it on, get this new sprite, and we want to collapse it. We want to expand it. So let's go to the scale and do something like that, or maybe even more, I would say. Let's put 2. We want to keep this opacity down to 0. Then we want to make it 1. So we need to open the script. Let's go to the ingredient. In here we want to make a reference to the animator. Animator. So as you can see, we are creating the same things for the start and for enable. So in that case, I will create a new function and call it initialize ingredients. And I'll put everything in there because there is no need of duplicating the code. We just call this method in start and in on enable. So let's go to animator, click on ingredient, go to there and make transition to ingredient collect. Once it's collected, it could go back to idle by itself. So now in here we need to create a new trigger, and let's call it collect. We need to add it in here. We will set the exit time and here we'll put it 0. So let's save it. Let's go back to the code and we need to create a function. It has to be public void, and let's call it switch collect animation, and we want to get to anim and we want to set trigger, and it was collect, wasn't it? We need to call it when we trigger the when we touch this ingredient, and it should be in the interactions. So let's go here. We are setting this inactive, but we want to set it inactive after a while. So I don't think I want to do it here. I will just get rid of this line and I will get that one, and I will call this method that I just created, so switch collect animation. And if we go back to ingredient, we are going to make it, and then we want to make a coroutine that our object will be deactivated after, let's say, half a second or 1 second. So let's make a numerator, and we want to provide some time. Of course, we don't have to do it this way, but why not? And yield return new and wait for seconds. And here we provide this time. And after some time, we want to get this object and set active false. So once it's done, we need to call start coroutine, and we'll call disable after delay, and we will provide like 1 second for now. Maybe we'll put 1F to be more precise. And that should be it. So let me minimize it and press play. Here we have this animation, which is maybe a little bit too fast. Maybe I will slow it down in a second. So let me click on the pepper, and something was not alright. And the first thing is ingredient idle. We need to slow it down, so the speed would be half of it. Let's go to ingredient collect, and I will maybe make it smaller, slower as well, so speed 0.5. Double click, and I will uncheck the loop time because we don't want it to be looped. This animation takes too long, so we need to speed it up, or we put 2 as a speed, because we can't really see what's going on when we just collect it. So let's go there, and this is better now, I think. Okay. Yes, this is better. We can't have really fancy animation because we are not going to see it anyway, so there is no point of doing it. So let's click on override and apply all to be sure that everything is as we want it to be. Okay, now we are going to save our high score in player prefs. So in order to do it, let's create a new integer, call it high score, and we need some key for our player prefs. So let's type string and call it high score key, and that would be equal to high score. Now we have to create a wake, and we need to check if this key is already set. Player prefs, and now has key, and we need to provide this high score key. So if it doesn't exist, this is what we should check for. So if it doesn't exist, we need to create it. So player prefs set integer, because this is what we want to set, and high score, and of course we need to provide a value which is a 0. High score equals to player prefs get int. We are going to create the function to save the high score. So let's go below the start and type void save high score. And now we are going to check. We need to check if points are higher than the high score, or actually we don't really need to set the high score. I think we can get without it. So if the points are more than, and we will get this value, then instead of 0 we want to save points. When do we want to do it? We want to do it on the game over. So maybe we'll make it public, save it, and I will get rid of it, and I will get rid of this high score. We don't really need it. Game manager, before the game over, we want to save the high score. So we need to make a reference to points. So let's type points, and in the start we want to do points equal to, okay, and once we've got it, we want to do in the game over, we want to go to the points and save high score. We could make a first safety check actually and check if the points are not null. So if points exist, so it can stay as it is, then we want to save it. Try to get component, so that was the mistake. We need to find it, so find object of type and then points. Let's go to the UI manager and create a new text field. It will be of type text, and let's call it takes the high score. At the beginning, in the start, we want to get the high score. So takes the high score and text, that would be equal to, and we need to get this value from the points. Let's make this reference, and now in the start find object of type, and from there we need to get this value, but we haven't prepared anything to return this value, so we need to comment this out. Go to the points, create a function which will be public, and it will return integer, and we call it get high score, and it will return player prefs and get high score. So now we can go back to the UI manager and we can uncomment it, and once we get the point, we will get high score, and we need to change it to string, of course. Probably it would be better to do points equals to find object of type points, paste it there, and here we will do if points exists, then we want to do it, and of course we don't have to check it again, we'll just use points. Let's click on our UI manager canvas. So we need to create a new text. We'll put it somewhere in the middle for now, and I will call it takes the high score, and let me drag and drop it in there. The problem is that at the moment there will be only game over if we go below 0 actually, so we can't really see it. We have to create some enemies on the scene. Okie dokie, we need some. So okay, we need to create some enemy, and I thought that when we are dealing with pizza and we do some stuff in kitchen, there is a possibility to cut ourselves with some knife or the saw, and I thought that we are going to create this saw that will be spinning all the time, and we have to avoid it. If we hit it, then we will die. Okay, I'll get this one. So I will get this, the lowest resolution, I will download it, and I will get it straight into Unity, to the sprites. Okay, here we've got it. So I need to create a new object. Maybe I'll do it in the level panel. Oh no, I will create a prefab out of it. Let me drag and drop it, and I'll call it so. We need to rotate it all the time. So I will, but okay, before we go to that, we need to add some collider. So let's type maybe circle collider 2D, and I think I'll make it trigger. Let's add Rigidbody to it, and let's make it kinematic. We need to have some way of identifying our enemies, and I think we can create a new tag. So let's go to the tags, add tag, and I will add enemy, and let me click on it one more time and choose enemy, and I will create a prefab out of it. So I drag it to the prefabs, and we need to add some animation for it. So I click on it, create, and let's go to animations and call it so spinning. Save it. We don't need more animations. We need only this one that will be looping all the time. And I'll go to about 30 and I will make it 360 minus 360. But as you can see, there is some problem with it, because when we play it, it slows down and then stops and so on. This is not what we want. So we want to select it, right click, we want to choose linear, and with the right one, right tangent, linear as well. Let me see how much we rotate in each frame. We are in this frame, it's 252 and it's 264. And we rotate 12 degrees in each frame. So actually the last one shouldn't be 360, it should be 348. So now if we play it, it should look correct. Go to animator. Probably this is too quick, 0.5. It's getting better. Okay, I think I would like it as it is now. We need to check for this interaction with the saw. So let's go to the interactions script, and on trigger enter, now we are going to check if this collision, if it has a tag of enemy. Try with transform, compare tag, and if it's got a tag of enemy, then we want to call game over. We need to make a reference to the game manager script. I will type game manager and call it game manager equals to find object of type game manager, and ta-dam. So let's go down, let's type game manager, and we want to call game over method. Save it, press play, and if we touch it, we should get game over. Press play, 1 point, and now we've got this 1, which is correct. If we get 1 point, then let's try to get second points and game over. Play again. The high score is 2, which is great. Let's exit the game and start again. There should be 2. It is okay. Now I will try to get 3 points. And we did. So let's go back, play again, and the high score is 3. I think it is a little bit too big, so we scale it down a little bit more and override it. So now we can add this saw to some panels. Okie dokie, I created few graphics objects, so let's import them. Import new asset. Let's go to desktop, running pizza chef, assets, and we've got ground, kitchen unit, lamp, shelf, table, window, and that would be it for now. I want to change the level 1, for example, to make it a bit better. So let me move it to the 0 where it should be. I'm going to create some prefabs out of those graphics that I just imported. Okay, so I imported a new graphic of the ground with the width of 1000, and with the Control Shift I will move it to the left, and I will duplicate them, and with the Control I will move them to the right, and we'll add the first one and the second one. And now let's go to the right, and okay, this is correct. We need to add this ground material. Somehow it wasn't added, so let's go here and just drag and drop it, click on the first one and apply all. Probably later on this package will include more graphics, so you can just structure your game as you wish. Okay, so let's go to the sprites, and I will get this chef on the scene, and we need to add collider to it and the ground. So add component box collider 2D. We need to add good ground material, and we need to change it because we want to work only on this part that is highly visible, because as you notice, something that we can't work on I just make it semi-transparent. So let's make it smaller in the y-axis and slide it up. Okay, that should be fine. So let's go to prefabs, drag and drop it. I can move it to level 1. Let me get rid of that one and I will create a new prefab. Let's go to the sprites. Maybe let's add some kitchen unit, and I think this is far too big, but for now we can just make it 0.6. I think this is a good size of it. Again, we need to make it ground, we need to add box collider 2D, we need to change its material so we can drag and drop it to the prefabs, so we create a prefab out of it. So when we were living like this unit, I couldn't jump because it didn't detect the ground. So let me click on our player, and I think I would like to increase this ground checker because this is quite in front. I will put it in the middle again, or maybe I will put it up a little bit, and I will override it and I will change it in the script. So let's go to the move player, and where we have the radius, I will increase it to 0.4, for example, to see if that would be better. So let me press play. And now let's change for the pepper. Let's get it. Let's get pepperoni. And now we're still in a game. Okay, we can jump off and we can add the lamp. So actually that would be probably easier to use the kitchen unit, just Ctrl D and unpack it. So let's use prefab. Where is it? Unpack it, prefab. Okay, because it was changed. I just installed 2020 and it's a little bit different than in 2019. So we've got prefab, so we can expand it and unpack it, move it to the right and change it for the lamp. Or maybe we could create not the box collider, maybe we can just remove it and let's add collider, and we will use, what can we use? Maybe edge collider, and let's edit it. So now we can add some extra vertices, the pepperoni, well, and we can slide off, which is cool. Look, wow, and we are dropping, wow, this is nice. Okay, I like it. Go there and I would separate it. So I will get those stuff and I will put it aside and I will make it longer so that we can create a composite object out of it, and then we will decide in Unity how we want to create this lamp, longer or shorter, and I will import it again, and we need to cut it. So single to multiple, apply, Sprite Editor, let's slice it, this is fine, apply, close, and let's click on the lamp. That would be the sprite. I will add this lamp as well. I will reset it, and we want to make it on -1. We need to move this edge collider down, so let's move it there, save it, and we need to override it. I will get the kitchen unit, Ctrl D, and I will unpack it, prefab, unpack, change the name for the window. I will move it to the right, I will put it up, I will add window to it, and we have to change the box collider so it's wider, smaller, like so. Make a prefab out of it, go to prefabs and drag and drop it. And I will go to materials and I will make a fraction set to 0. So now I'm going to create other panels. Now I thought that I might add some functionality so that I create a star or anything else. For now it will be a star, and whenever you collect it, then all the ingredients would be able to be picked. So whenever you collect the star, then all the ingredients, even if they will be different, you would be able to pick any of them, so that you don't have to worry about what ingredient is to be picked. and it would take like, I don't know, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, something like that. Let's create this star first. I will just create a simple star for now. Okie dokie, so now I'm going to add this star to the scene. We need to add some collider to it and make it a trigger. Choose circle collider and is trigger, add tag, and I'll call it star. And now I can create a prefab out of it, so drag and drop it. Now we have to go to interactions. So here we are, and we need to check for the star. So if collision transform compare tag is star, so actually we can use else if, because then it would be more efficient. So probably I will just add else, and here we can add else if as well. So let's create some method like void and turn star on. So what do we want when we are turning the star on? We want it to take about 10 seconds. So maybe we'll create a coroutine. So inside we just do something like that. We could create the coroutine out of it, but I think we can do it in here. So I will type enumerator, and here we are going to yield return new wait 4 seconds, and we wait 10 seconds. When we collect the star, we want to have some boolean value to be triggered as true, like is star selected. So let's go to the top and type bool is star selected, and by default there will be false. And now we will get it is star selected to be true. So whenever the star is selected, we want to pick any ingredient. So here we can add or statement. We can check if star is selected. After 10 seconds, we want to make is star selected to be false. And what is more, we want to call this coroutine, of course, start coroutine. And when do we want to call this function? We want to call it whenever we collect the star. But we need to be careful, because when the times is up like now, so now we are going to lose the points. So this is working, but of course we need to have a way of knowing if the star is on or not. So maybe we can change the image of it for the star, and we've got this image ingredient. So we should just change it for the star. So maybe in UI Manager we can create this kind of function, serialize field, and this will be a sprite star. And now we want to create a method, the public method, that we are going to assign this sprite to the image ingredient. So let's do it. Maybe assign the star image img ingredient sprite, and we want to assign sprite star to it. So let me go back to interactions, and we need to have a reference to UI Manager, which we have, which is good. So when we are turning the star on, we want to call this UI Manager and assign star image. When everything is over, we want to call UI Manager again, and we want to assign random image to the btn ingredient. We've got the pepper. Let's go thick, and okay, and it doesn't work. Of course it didn't change, because if we click on the canvas, we haven't attached this sprite to the field that we created. We need to take this star and assign it. So now if we press play, it should work properly. So let me go, and here we've got the star, so we can go and collect whatever we want. Okay, so there is another problem, that when the star is on, we shouldn't switch to other ingredients. We should stay, it should stay as it is. So whenever we collect the ingredient, we call UI Manager and assign random image to the ingredient. But actually, we should do it only when the star is not selected. So let's go here and add if statement. So if star selected, and if it's not selected, then we want to do it. So let me add it inside the if statement, and that should be fine. So let's save it and let's go back to the game. And now let's go further. We've got the star, we picked the mushroom, nothing has changed. So we can keep going and collecting as many ingredients as possible. This is too far probably, we can't jump on it. Yes, it's too far, so I would have to change it a little bit. We have to decide how we want to add it to the scene, because it's endless runner. So we could just create some level which will have this star, or we can just add it randomly. Now I would like to make this star to appear in the scene in some random position, and I think I will create it so that it appears every 10 seconds, for example. Let's go to the level manager. We have, of course, two approaches we can choose. We can just instantiate a new star and delete the one that we collect, or we can just use only one star and change its position all the time. And when it comes to the performance, that's the better option. The instantiating and destroying it would be easier, but shifting it, it's better for our frames per second. So maybe let's do it this way. I will create a new field for our star, serialize field, and I will type game object and I'll call it a star. Position star on the scene. And now we want to take this star and put it in front of our player. So we need to take the player position and then we need to add some vector to it. But first, we maybe want to make it random. So sometimes it's on the bottom, sometimes in the middle and higher up. So let's create this float value and call it random range. And here we have to specify the range. And usually I just call it rand, not random. Check what the y values has to be. So let's go back to the scene, and it's about 4 positive or 4.2, and there is about minus 3.8. So let's create something in between. So minus 3.8f and 4.2f. So we need to get some value in between. And once we create it, we want to create a new vector. So let's do a vector 3 and let's call it maybe shift star position. And we need to create a new vector. And when it comes to the X position, we have to put this star in front of our player, about 10 units at least. So let's add 10f and then put this rand, and when it comes to the z, there will be 0f. So now we need to take the position of the player, so we need to increase it by this shift position. Take the transform and position, and that would be equal to our player position, transform and position, and we need to increase it by this shift star position. We want to call it every 10 seconds. We could create some coroutine, or we can use something that Unity provides for us, and there is a function called invoke repeating. Put it as a string, so you do it this way, and we want to start the float time and the repeat rate. So the float time is when do we want to start this method for the first time. So maybe I would like to start it maybe 5 seconds, and then we want to repeat it every 10 seconds. When we will collect this star, we need to move its position somewhere else so we don't see it on the scene. So let's go to the interactions, and here where we are comparing it, we turn the star on, collision, and transform position, and we can assign some vector to it. So let's say vector 3, and we need to move it outside of the view. So we can go like 20 or 30 units up or down, and that should solve the problem. So let's use 0f, and maybe let's add 30f and 0f, and that should do the thing. So I will click on the level manager, and I will just drag and drop the star in there. So let's press play, and we need to stay about 5 seconds on the ground, and as you can see, we've got our star. So now we can collect anything, which is really cool. I think there is some problem because, for example, we are choosing the Y position from the range, but here we are adding this to the player position. And for example, if our player were something high up or here on the bottom, so let's say we are on the bottom, and then we get a random value of -3.8, then the star would be below our screen because it will add to it. And this is something we don't want. We want to check the player X position, and then we want to add this shift position to it. We don't want to add anything to the Y position. We are going to create a new vector out of it. So I will just do it this way, new vector 3. We should use the player transform position X. We want to add this shift start position X. Then when it comes to the Y, we want to use only this rand value. Z, we will use just 0f. And I think this is how it should look like. Okay, let's add some audio sounds to our player. And I recorded 2 sounds. The one is tapping, so I was tapping my fingers on my desk. So this is what will be running. And I make like a swoosh. This audio will be played when we jump. So let's get those files into the Unity. I believe I've got them in the folder. So I've got a pop sound recorded as well, but we'll add it another time when we collect some ingredients. For now, let's get jump and running into the project. Click on the player, and in order to play it, we need to add audio source component to it. We don't want to play on awake, so let me override it. And we need to add this functionality in the script. So we'll open move player, probably that will be the easiest, because we could create separate script for it, but our project is getting to the end and I don't think I need some separate script for it. So we can create 2 separate fields, or we can just create an array, and I think I create an array. So let me go here, maybe I should do it on the top really. So serialize field, and I call it audio clip array, and I'll call it audio clips maybe. We need to have a reference to the audio source component. So let's type audio source, and I call it audios. And now in the start, we need to make this reference audios equals get component, and here we'll type audio source. Cool. We need to attach those clips to the array. So let's go back, click on our player, and we should have it in the move player. Here we've got it. So let me click on the assets, and first let it be the running, and then I will add jump. So we can override it, and let's go back to the code. When do we want to play them? Or maybe I will create functions first. So void, and I will create 2 separate functions because I want them to behave a little bit differently. And I will make void play jump audio. So when it comes to the jump, we want to play only one shot. Play one shot, and here we need to provide the audio clip, which will be held in this audio clips array, and we need to specify index, which will be 1, because running was on the index 0 and jumping on index 1. And when do we want to play it? We want to play it when we jump. So I will go to here. Here we are adding some force to jump, and when we do it, we want to play this audio. Where we want to call this function, I think we will call it in here when the velocity y will be smaller than 0.05, then it means we will be running, and here we want to call this function. So here we can say that we want to play this audio, but because this will be called very often, we don't want to start this audio clip to be played all over again, because that wouldn't be okay. So we need to check if this is playing already, then we don't want to play. If it's not playing, only then we want to start playing this audio clip. So we can do something like that. If is not audios is playing, so if it's not playing, then we want to play. But first we need to assign this audio clip to it. So audios and clip equals to, and we need to get this array with index 0. And then we can play it. So audios play, and ta-dam! We need to call this method in here. Before we play this one shot, we want this component to stop playing whatever was playing before. I will put the headphones on to hear it. If I jump, I can hear this swoosh effect, which is really cool. This is working. Okay, so it's time to add some sound effect for our ingredients. And of course, as always, we can approach this problem. It's not the problem, but we can approach it in many different ways. I'm just thinking how to make it so it's most efficient. I think we could create only one audio source and just call this function from there. So if we create audio source on the game manager, that would be the easiest way. We can add audio source component to it. We don't need to play on awake, and we don't need a loop. We can override it. If we want to play only one sound, only this pop sound, then we can attach this audio clip here straight away. So maybe we can do it like that for now. So let's import this clip, which is in the folder, and it's called pop. So I will click on game manager and I will assign it and override it again. And now let's go to this game manager script and create this function. So we need to have, in game manager, we need to have this reference to the audio source. So audio source and audios. And now in the start, we need to call it. So audios get component audio source, and we have it. So now we will create a new function which needs to be public. So public void pop sound. And now we need to take audios and just play it, because the audio clip is already attached to it. And from where we want to play it? We want to play it when we get in interaction with the ingredient. So if we go to interactions, we can type game manager, play pop sound. And let's press play to see if this is working properly. Let's go here and I will choose the tomato. And yes, we've got a pop. There is something that we need to fix. When I press play and when we get the star, maybe I will try to do it. Go further to hunt for the star. Now I've got it. And look, we can still click on it and it will change the sprite of it. We still can collect anything because the star was on, but we have no way of telling it if the star is on or not. So what we want to do, we want to make this button uninteractive. We've got this image ingredients, open this UI manager. When we are checking this image ingredient, we can go to its parent and we can change the button components uninteractive. So when we are assigning star image, we want to make its parent uninteractive as well. So let's go there and I will type image ingredient, take its parent, so transform and get components in parent, and I will type button, and now we want to choose interactable and we want to make it false. Or we can just create a separate function. For example, we can do something like that. We can do public void make button interactive, and here we can provide a bool value is interactive, and because of it we can choose between true and false. So we can move it here, provide this argument there. So whenever we call this function, we can decide either we want to make it interactive or not. So let's save it and go to the interaction. When we turn the star on, then we want to call this function. So it is in UI manager and we want to make button interactive and we want to provide false. And when the time is gone, we want to make it interactive back again. So let's copy it, paste it there and make it true. So now it is interactive, everything is fine. Let me hunt for the star, we get the star and look, we can't click on it. So everything is fine. And I think that the new star pops up a little bit too quick. So we need to increase this time. So I will go to the level manager, position star on the screen, and we invoke repeating. So probably not every 10 seconds. I will choose about 12 seconds. I think we can make it a little bit more in the front of us. I think I would make it about 12 or 14. Move it about 12 units to the right and that should be fine. Everything is going better and better, but we need to adopt our UI so it's a little bit better and that it will fit to any mobile device. So before we proceed, I think I will move this high score to the left and I will leave the actual score in the middle. Maybe I'll go online and I will go to Google Fonts to get some font for it. Maybe I will use this one. It looks a bit crazy. I quite like it. So I click on it, download the family, 7-zip, extract to, and I will just drag and drop it straight to Unity, to the assets. But we need to know that this is a high score. So I think I will just duplicate it and I'll move it to the left and I will select them both, move it to the right. We need to get our btn ingredient and it should stay somehow in the middle. So I will choose this anchor preset and I will put it to the middle and to the right. I will do the same thing with this one. That should be okay. Now I will get that one and I think it has to go to the top center. And those two dock it to the left corner. We do have some in our main menu. So let's go to main menu and this is in the middle, that one as well. So it can stay as it is. Okay, that is okay. And now we want to see how our game is going to look like on some mobile device. So in order to do it, we will install some package. Let's go to package manager. In previous version of Unity, it was a little bit easier, but anyway, let's go to package manager. And it's not showing up in here because this is not like the final version of it. It's still in the preview and we have to enable it. And normally in the previous version, you would have this advanced button in here, so you could choose to preview packages, to enable preview packages, but here there is no such a button. So we would go here and go to advanced project settings, and here we've got this enable preview packages. So we will click on that one and we can close it. Now we will choose from in project, we'll choose Unity registry, and let's try to find device, and here it is, device simulator. So let's install that one. Okay, it looks like it has been installed. So now we can go to Window, General and Device Simulator. So we will dock it in here. So now we can choose our device. For example, I will choose let it be Samsung S10, why not? And we need to choose not the portrait, but we need to rotate it. Okay, and let's press play to see how it goes. And here we have it. So of course we can't use the keyboard and we can't really go right or left because we didn't make it to do so, but we can change it, we can jump and so on, and everything is looking quite well. But as you can see, the high score is being cut a little bit, so we need to move it to the right. So let's do it. I will go to the scene and I will grab both of them and move them to the right, and I can put it down a little bit. I will save it, and now I will go to the script, to the move player script, and I will make it so it runs all the time. So we are not going to check for the input anymore. Move pause x, that would be equal to the speed x. So I will save it and go back to the Unity. I will go to simulator and press play, and now we should be running all the time. And play, do it again. Okay, tick. Everything seems to be working just fine, which is great. I want to get this app online as quick as possible so that I can download it, see how it goes, if everything is fine. Of course I can just move it to my phone, but the thing is to see how to get it online and how to upgrade it later on, what we can do to change it, to make it better, and you know. So we have to prepare it for publishing it to the Play Store. So let's go to the build settings, and I will click on the build app bundle, Google Play. This is what we need. Let's go to the player settings, and I will type Phoebesoft in here. The running pizza chef, it's okay. The icon, I will do it in the end. Let me just get everything prepared and I will come back to the icon later on. So the resolution and presentation, it should be always in the landscape, and maybe let's use the left one. And let's go further, other settings. I want to add OpenGLS2 as well. So I click on it and add it. It will take few seconds to add. So in the meantime, I will open Inkscape and try to create some icon. Okay, I think I will go with something like that. So I will just take it and export it. I will do 512 because probably later on for the Play Store I will need it. So I will call it running pizza chef icon, and I will save it in the running assets, save it and export it. Go back for a second to add this icon to the project. So import new asset, and I will add this icon. Now we can go back to the build settings and to player settings and choose this default icon, which is here. And let's change other settings as well. So here we've got the version, which is 1, correct. Now I want to change this mono to that option and choose the second option as well. And here of course you need to have API at least 29. If you don't know how to do it and you don't have it, I've got some other video on my YouTube how to do it. and so I will leave it as it is. Keep minimum API as low as possible, but with this one keep this automatic highest installed. This is a good setting. So let's go to publishing, and here we need to create a new key. So let's go there and create new in dedicated location, and I will choose my running Pizza Chef assets, and I will create a key folder. Let's go there, and I will maybe call it running Pizza Chef, and I will save it. So now I need to add the password, and we need alias, so I will do the same as the name of this key and the password. Okay, I don't want to do anything else. Do you want to set them? Okay, yes, I do. So everything is set. Let's go down, and we need to choose this release option, and everything should be fine. So now we can build our project for the Play Store. So let's click on build, and let's choose some location on desktop. I will add maybe run folder, go there, and I will just call it A and save it. Okay, it's time to release our app, and I tried to do it before, and as you can see, we've got this running Pizza Chef and the status is production, but they changed the console. It's in beta version, and I tried to do it this way, and to be honest, I failed to do so. It says it in production, and probably it will be listed in the store after a few days. But this movie was so chaotic, and this new look of the console is so bad that I don't like it at all. That's why I'm recording it again, and I will try to make this release one more time using the classic Play console, so something that was before. So I will open this like that, and now we are going to create application. I don't know why they are changing it, because this console looks way better than the new one, but okay. So I'm going to create a new title. It's going to be running. Maybe I will add endless Pizza Chef so that I can distinguish it from the other one that I just released. And let's go down. We have to add the icon, so let's go to the assets, and I will choose different icon. The screenshots, let's add 2 screenshots that I've done before. Open it, and we need feature graphic, which should be there. Application type game, the category would be casual. I don't want to manage any tags. I will provide my Gmail, and I'll paste it there, and I will save this draft. So now we can go to app release, and here go to production, manage, and create release. Now I will click continue, and we can upload our file. So let's go to desktop to run and upload it. Okay, and as you can see, we can't upload the same game with the same package name because we already have it done. So I would have to create a new file with different package name, and I would have to create it again. So file, build settings, go to player settings. I don't know if I can use the same key that I used before, but I will try. So I need to provide my password again, change the product name. I will add running endless Pizza Chef, and I will put 2, and I go to other settings, and this is different now, so that should be fine. Choose different icon for it as well. So I will import new asset. I'll go to running assets, and I'll get this icon. So let me go again to build settings, player settings, and I will choose this icon. I will try to build it, and I will call it B this time. Save it, Unable to sign the application, please provide passwords. Okay, let me go to player settings. Maybe I will select it again. So I go to desktop, running pizza chef key, and I will get it. And here I need to add this password. So now I will close it, build, and I will type B and save it. Okay, the app is built, so we can go back here and we can browse a new file, and I will choose the B. Okay, we've got the success, which is great. So now we can save it. Now we should go to content rating, and we need to continue and fill few stuff. So here I will type my email and I have to confirm it. So I paste it there. I will click the game. No, 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 no. My game is very good. I don't have any of those. So let's calculate the rating, apply rating. And this is cool. So now we can go to the app content. Let's start it from the top. Privacy policy, it is on my website, and I will type privacy policy, save it, and let's go back. Let's start next one. We don't have any ads, save it, go back. Now app access, all the functionality is available, save it, go back. Target audience and content, we need to specify 13 plus, as this is the easiest way to upload it. If you target for the younger, it will be more difficult, so I don't want to cover that. Maybe it can, so yes, and save it. Let's go back, submit it, submit it, submit it. Everything is submitted, so we can go to pricing and distribution. It should turn green, and it did. We've got a free version. We will select all them and save draft. So now go back to app releases. It should turn green. Oh, it didn't. So let's go back and see why. Let me go. Okay, I didn't sign the agreements, so we need to do it, and now save draft. Now it's green, it's fine. Go to app releases, go to edit release. And we've got everything done, so let's review it and start rollout to production and confirm it, which is great. And this console is far more easy than the other one. The other one is a nightmare. This new one, I hope they will change it a lot, or they will give us this possibility to choose between the new Play console and the old one, because the new one is really bad. I don't like it. Don't make it. Okay, so we've got it. We've got our release. Let's go to all applications, and as you can see, we've got them too pending publication. We will see how they appear in the Google Play Store. I've done this one with this old Play console, and that one was with the new one, which was terrible. So we will see how it goes. But I think we will see it in the next episodes, because we already finished some portion of the learning process of this project. So I hope you learned quite a lot, and I see you in the next one.